Somewhere, somehow, somebody made a decision in the government and the pharmaceutical medical world that this magic cure that they're going after, that they will never deliver to you, belongs only to them. And they're the only ones who can say that we can cure this disease, although they never will. And it's enough for us to look in the cancer industry to really know that they never will give you the cure. No matter the billions of dollars you're going to raise and funnel to them, they'll just fatten their pockets and keep you struggling because your wellness is not their goal, because that will put them out of business. Hello and welcome to the Health Wizard podcast. I'm your host, Yelena Isolde Medici, a health and life coach. I'm so excited that you're choosing to listen to my podcast because you are choosing to make your health your priority. The Health Wizard podcast is dedicated to teaching natural, easy to implement practices that you can use to get your health on track and become the person you used to be before getting sick and the person you're dreaming of becoming again, happy, healthy, full of energy, and living a life filled with joy. Now, very quickly, before we dive into the good stuff, I want to remind you that this podcast is intended for education and entertainment purposes only. This podcast is not a substitute for professional medical advice. If you have a medical condition, please seek the help of a licensed medical professional. I am not a medical doctor. I do not treat, diagnose, prescribe, or make claims outside of my areas of expertise. So by choosing to listen to the Health Wizard podcast, you take full responsibility for your own actions. And when you hear the testimonials of the people who were able to get well, realize that their outcomes depended on their effort and their specific situation. With that said, let's jump into today's episode. Please enjoy. Hello, gorgeous people, and welcome back to the Health Wizard podcast. The prodigal son, in this case, daughter, is back. So what happened to me? Here's what happened to me. About mid-November, I was working really hard, as I have done every year right around Christmas time. And normally right around Christmas time, when some businesses are struggling, I was always doing fantastically. And this year, as I was heading into the holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, something in me said, hey, Elena, after years, almost 15 years of not taking breaks around this beautiful season, except for the few days right on holidays, I think we should take a break. And yes, I do talk to myself all the time, as probably most of you intelligent people do. So me, myself, and I had a meeting and a conversation, and we decided that it was a good time to focus on self-care. Now, this is something I teach to all of my clients and to all of you, my listeners, is that proper self-care is an absolute necessity in a healthy recovery plan for those who struggle with hormone imbalances, thyroid issues, any kind of mental anxiety disorders, anything like that. So it's really imperative for our health not to run ourselves into the ground. And I feel like after almost 15 years of working really hard and running my business and working with my clients and serving my audience, I was ready to practice what I preach. Now, of course, I do practice what I preach on a daily basis, but I wanted to try something that is totally opposite of who I am. By nature, I'm a doer. And this doer wants to work pretty much all the time because I enjoy working. It gives me a sense of fulfillment and a sense of purpose. Of course, my family does too, but working is easy for me. I don't get tired of it, and I can push for 12, 14 hours easily. Although I always take care of myself. Like I said, this time was going to be different because I was going to take off a month from working. Not from my clients, the ones who were working with me at that time. I was going to continue working with them, but I closed the door to accepting any new clients into my program or offering my services anywhere else. And then I was going to go with wherever my life takes me. And I thought it was going to be completely hard, and it was for the first about month. But then when I didn't have to go to the social media posts to do things, to email, to do podcasting, to do YouTube, and to do all of those things, my body got in the groove of feeling relaxed, feeling at ease. Now, I am infinitely grateful that I can do this. I have really great financial management skills, so I could afford to take a few months off work and not feel like I am pressed to go to work no matter what. So the Odyssey of Self-Care began. I took the couple of weeks in November off, and then I went, that feels good. I need more time off. I'm going to wait for my muse to come back and talk to me because I wanted to be inspired to work and inspired to produce shows like this. And so I decided to go visit my family in Washington, and that took another month between the travel and coming back from travel. And then I was all ready and fired up to come back to work full force in January. And the moment we got home after the holidays, 3 days later, my daughter and I came down with a cold. Now, whether it was COVID or not, I don't know. I don't actually care. Our bodies are healthy and overcame whatever we're dealing with. But unlike all the other times when we would get over any kind of bug in 2 to 3 days, this time around, the symptoms kind of hung with us. The worst was the first 5 days. Thankfully, we didn't have any fever. It was just the weakness, the headaches, the runny nose. But then I thought I was going to be back to work again, and that's how I felt every single week. And then my body would let me know. Otherwise, I would be up and working with my clients, answering emails, and an hour, 2 hours later, I felt like I needed to lie down for a 5-hour nap. So I did what I would recommend to anyone to do if you can afford it, is simply follow my body's signals. When my body felt like I needed to rest, I rested. And when my body told me I can work, I worked. So I followed my inspiration up until the middle of January, and then I got a text from my niece, we're coming to Texas for a visit. I was like, okay, well, it's my birthday coming up. It's my niece coming out. Let's just finish off January and then start working in February. And that is exactly what I did. So I am coming back from the dead, but from the good kind of dead to the world and alive to me, having recovered, having to work through some things and really laying out the vision for myself for this year, how and what I'm going to do. And what I'm going to do about podcasting, working with clients, how I'm going to work, how am I going to continue to work on my book, which is in the works, but has been paused since I was working on my other book with my husband, which we published just over a year ago. So if you have not yet read our book, it is called Son of a Whore. You can find it on Amazon or order it from any of your bookstores and read it. It will be a life transforming, I guarantee it. But in conjunction with that, I was working on my book. It is called Incurable, but because there was so much going on between being a mother, running a business, working with my clients, working on that book, something had to give, and my book was that. I know the world needs it, and I know it's going to come out one day, but I needed the time and the inspiration right now and the rest so that I can produce something from the depth of my heart as opposed to out of, well, I just think it needs to be done. So all of this is happening, and I'm in a process of deciding how I'm going to work, who I'm going to work with, how am I going to serve you all, and made some decisions where I'm going to be cutting down on the number of clients I'm taking. Lately, I also cut off all of the advertisements, so we're not advertising actively to get any new clients, and we are transitioning really to being by referral and word of mouth only because we want to get the best and the most committed clients out there. And the clients that are going to be coming to us will have to go through the process of auditioning. And it is really a process of us finding out if we can be of service to you, if we want to work with you, and if we can get you to your as close to 100% wellness goal as possible. So if you go to my website, 360impacthealth.com, these days you're going to find that our enrollment process into working with me, into our program, has tightened up a little bit, and you'll need to go through a couple more steps. But we just want to make sure that every person that we take on is highly qualified to hit the 100% goal. As of last few years, we always hit our 95% and up success rate with our clients, and I want to get it to 100% as close as possible. Now, with that said, if you're in a place in your life where you're saying, I need some Elaine, I want to work with you, you can absolutely reach out. Go to our website, send me an email. Email is very simple, info@360impactcoaching.com. Watch my webinar, fill out the form, talk to us. We'll go through the whole process of seeing if you're qualified or not to work with us. Now, whether you're ready or not to work with me is one thing, but I still decided that I will be delivering high quality life-saving content to you so that you can keep on healing yourself, whether you're working with me or not. And who would say no to that, right? So today, as I'm coming back from the living dead, I decided I'm going to dedicate this podcast to shining some light on your body's ability to heal. I had faced the regulation monsters in our industry many, many years in a row, and here's how it goes. If I tell you that you can heal yourself, the government will come after me and punish me. If I tell you that you can cure yourself, the government will come after me and punish me. But where's the fun in our life if we just comply and do what we're told to do? Somewhere, somehow, somebody made a decision in the government and the pharmaceutical medical world that this magic cure that they're going after, that they will never deliver to you, belongs only to them. And they're the only ones who can say that we can cure this disease, although they never will. And it's enough for us to look in the cancer industry to really know that they never will give you the cure. No matter the billions of dollars you're going to raise and funnel to them, they'll just fatten their pockets and keep you struggling because your wellness is not their goal, because that will put them out of business. So if we can be all grown-ups here now and realize that your wellness is not their goal, and your doctors are not going to heal or cure you, and the pharmaceutical companies don't have an interest to heal or cure you, that leaves you with people like me, whose interest is to help you heal and cure yourself so that you can go on living your lives to the fullest, which means that we need to have a closer relationship, don't we? I have the skill, I have the know-how of how you can reverse and cure yourself. And you need those skills and the knowledge so that you can do it for yourself and go back to the business of being yourself and living your life to the fullest, fulfilling your dreams and enjoying your life. Now, before this even can happen, before you can say, oh, I need to work with somebody like Elena, I can tell you that one thing that has to happen without which even I cannot help you, and that is your belief in your own ability, in your body's ability to heal yourself. The pharmaceutical and the medical industry has screwed into your head that once you're sick with illnesses such as PCOS or Hashimoto's or Graves' disease or have a goiter, there's no way, dear soul, that you can heal yourself. Why? Because they told you so, because they are not looking for a cure, and they never looked in a land of natural holistic principles, and they've only been pushing synthetic medications on you. Of course, they believe that you cannot be cured or healed. So for the sake of this podcast, I'm going to say healed going forward, and you're going to assume that healed and cured are synonymous in this case. Deal? So again, their interest is not aligning with your interest. Their knowledge is not aligning with my knowledge and the knowledge of people like me that your body can self-heal. So before you go to work with somebody like me, before you try anything that's going to cost your time, money, and effort, you need to make a decision on whether you believe that your body can be self-healing. Now, I can sit here and give you story after story. And by the way, my website is filled with success stories like this, that your body is a self-healing, beautiful being, not a machine, but a being. And you have all the tools right now in your hands that you will ever need in order to heal yourself. But it will be the moment between you hear enough of this and actually internally believe that while it is possible for others, it will also be possible. Not possible, but probable for me if I do all the right things. This is going to be where the magic happens. There have been numerous studies done on the effects of placebo. So it's known as the placebo effect. It is when you believe in something so much that your mind and your body will align with that belief to create a reality for you according to that belief. For example, a couple of decades ago, I actually think it's only about a decade ago, there was a study done on the effects of placebo effect versus pharmaceuticals for antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications. And what they had come out with is the placebo effect was more powerful than the medications. Now, the study was so potent that the pharmaceuticals came after it and tried to discredit it and tried to bury it. And there was a war between the scientists and the pharmaceutical companies over it. But they wanted to bury it because they don't want you to know that your body and your mind are that powerful that you can heal yourself through a belief system. Now, I am a believer that you need a holistic approach to reversing an illness. And in my approach, step number one is we need to understand what is making you sick. And this is exactly the thing that the pharmaceutical and the medical industry are never interested in. When you go to your doctor and say, I'm feeling unwell, and you have a list of your symptoms. My hair is falling out, my libido is non-existent, I cannot conceive, my joints are falling apart. They don't go and say, okay, let's look at all the root causes. What they do is they run the labs, which will be out of whack because, of course, you're not feeling well. But then they say, okay, let's medicate the symptoms. And what happens? You medicate the symptoms, you never address the root cause, and you keep on being sick for the rest of your life. And thus, of course, they will call you incurable. My approach is the opposite. We'll look for what is making you sick, and I look at an average at about 18 to 20 plus different possible root causes. And if you ever work with me or do one of my trainings, you're going to see the list of them. So as I look through all the possible root causes, I consider how they're impacting you. We'll take a questionnaire of how do you eat, what do you eat, how do you sleep, whether you had beauty treatments, whether you were born C-section, were you breastfed, was there any trauma, and I can go on and on and on. Over 20 different root causes. I look at all of them, and only then I say, okay, here is the best approach to healing yourself. Here are the keys. So I never heal anybody, by the way. And this is what the government agencies would come after me for, is if I told somebody I can heal or cure somebody. So my big disclaimer, if any of you are from the government agencies, I don't. I simply teach my clients how they can do it for themselves. I give you the tools and you do the healing yourself, which puts you in power. You are in your own control of your own life for the rest of your life, as opposed to being dependent on somebody, on some medication, which will never be enough, which will always need to be increased because drugs are drugs, and your dependency on them only gets more severe with time, and not you don't need less or fewer of them, you need more of them. But all of this is to say is that while I do believe that in all holistic, all surrounding approach is necessary for healing yourself. So understanding the root cause, then fine-tuning your diet, looking through any treatments you've been through, clearing out your meds and your supplements, and releasing trauma, and all of those. I can tell you that all of them will be negated and ineffective unless you truly believe that they will work for you. Why? Because your belief in your self-healing abilities will strengthen the effect of those treatments, if you want to call them, of those approaches on your body. So rather than just throwing something in your mouth that would be healing to somebody, to most people, but you saying, well, I'll never get better, and actually missing out on it and not getting better because there's an effect known as Nocebo Effect. I'll talk about that in a moment. If you put things in your mouth and you do the things that I ask my clients to do, and you believe that every single one of those steps, every single one of those actions is getting you closer to your outcome, then guess what? You're most likely to get to those outcomes because then your psychology and your physiology works in your favor. Now, if you do not believe it and you're going against your own inner gut or belief, even so, let's say if you are so depressed and anxious and nothing that you ever tried worked for you, and now you're going into this and you're using the best plan in the world, which is my plan, and then you do everything and it's not working for you, we need to look at what is your belief system. If your belief system is never going to work for me, then don't ever start it, because the nocebo effect is at play. And here's what nocebo effect is: the opposite of placebo effect. It is when your body is responding to your negative belief system, negative beliefs, to where you say with your thought alone, you can make yourself sick. So if you say there were cancers in my family all of this time, and because there were cancers in my mother and my grandmother and great-grandmother, I'm going to die from cancer. Well, if you keep thinking these thoughts over and over again, despite of all of your efforts, you're more likely to actually end up with cancer and die from it. There were numerous cases that were recorded about the nocebo effect. One of them was a man who went to see his doctor. He had an illness. I can't remember specifically which one. But the point here is that he believed that he was incurable. So his doctor says, hey, listen, there is a new drug that's coming out, and they're going through these trial stages, and I can get you enrolled into it. Well, the patient, of course, says yes. let's give it a go, doc. And he goes on this drug, but it's really not a drug. It's a placebo pill. And because the doctor saying high praises about this drug to the man is starting to get better. Some time passes by and he comes back and all of a sudden he's feeling worse again. And doctor says, what is going on? So the guy tells him, I just read an article in the newspaper a few days ago that this drug is not working as well as it was expected and the outcomes are not great. So it's not working for me. And all of a sudden, he just started getting worse. So the doctor looked at everything. He didn't know what else to do. And then he comes back to him a couple of days later and he said, listen, that was actually a misprint. They came around and they're showing that there's actually a lot of benefit and there's a huge promise in this drug. Just keep doing it. You'll be fine. So the guy starts getting better again. It's almost overnight change. And then a few weeks pass by and he comes in and he's almost on deathbed. And the doctor said, what happened? Well, so the guy said, I just read the newspaper. They recalled that drug. It's not working. So he gave up on himself. And while this whole time he was only taking a placebo sugar pill, his thoughts were turning the symptoms on and off for him. Now, I'm not saying that this is the case with all of you. I'm not saying that your thoughts alone will kill you, although they can. Or I'm not actually saying that your thoughts are killing you, but they might be. If you believe, like some articles I've read about written by people who are sick with either PCOS or endometriosis or other things, and they sound like this, I've tried everything, nothing will ever work, it's incurable, I only have to deal with it, so I'm going to sit here all day long, complain and write blog articles about it. So I've seen that happen, but I also have seen the opposite. In people like me, in people like my clients, we've seen that when you finally reach the point where you say enough is enough, the BS that we have been sold that we are incurable is nothing but BS. And I will not believe it. I will not turn over. I will not die feeling miserable. When you say that, when you're ready to take your life by the bullhorns, when you're ready to be in control of your life, then your body will start aligning with what you need. There is a Chinese proverb that says that when the student is ready, the master will appear. I cannot tell you about the number of times when I was contacted by people who become my clients who said, I was miserable and just last week or the week before, or a few months ago, I decided that I'm not going to live or die like this. And I started searching and I found you. What happened in their life was that they decided that they were not going to put up with being sick, that they are not going to buy into this fallacy that they're incurable, that they decided that they will find a way where there was no way, kind of like I did almost 15 years ago. And then all of a sudden the answer for them was in the form of me. For me, it was in the form of me too, but the answer appeared and they found their path. For example, right now I have a client who came to me diagnosed with hypothyroidism and a couple of other conditions. Talking to her, I said, listen, I have an inkling that in about 3 to 4 weeks, you'll be at least 50 to 60% better. She's like, wow, that'd be so fantastic. But this woman went after her health as a hungry lioness would go after prey. And she did everything I asked her, and we're at week 3 right now, just completed. She is 7 pounds down. She lost weight, even though she could not lose weight for a long time. And then she got rid of 69% of her symptoms. She came to me with 28 symptoms. She is down to only 8, so 20 symptoms are gone. We're at 3 weeks mark. And what made that possible? Her absolutely 100% believed that because she found the proof, because she's spoken to me and she saw the case studies on our website, and she believed that it was possible for other women, it will be possible for her. Her body began to respond to these thoughts. And as she was doing all the right things that I asked her to do, her body responded even that much more. Now, I'm going to share one story with you. And it's not that I'm going to recommend that you do your life just like this, but this story opened my eyes to a realm of possibility that I never thought were possible. About 5 years ago, I was in a business program, and my mentor, my coach for a part of that program, healed himself of stage 4 cancer. When we met, we were in a meeting together, and I saw how he was eating. I thought back then in my mind, it's like, it's not adding up. His diet is atrocious. He's eating a lot of meat products, a lot of processed foods. He's giving me his scale, and I'm giving him the meat that I never eat. So why was it that this guy was looking healthy? that he was full of energy, that he was full of life, and that he reversed stage 4 cancer. As I got to talk to him, he told me a story of how it happened. The cancer was so bad, he had actually boils or tumors, I guess you'd call them, on the outside of his skin, so on his legs, and they would burst and the liquid would just run down his legs. And he was so bitter with the God that he believed in, with the world that he lived in. And he said, one day I was in a business meeting and I heard this voice speak to me. Now, if you're not a religious person, just hang in for the ride here. So he says, I heard this voice speak to me, and he said, the voice said, I see that you're very bitter. And you're bitter about your illness. And he said, well, of course I am. Look, I'm dying. I have a family. I have 2 daughters. I have a wife. I have a lot to live for, and I'm dying. So he said, the voice said to me, would you be as bitter if you were taking this cancer, this illness, away from one of your daughters? So if she had this cancer, but you took it upon yourself to save her life, would you be still bitter? He said, no, I would be grateful. I'd be grateful every day and every moment because I'd get to save her life. And he said, this voice spoke to me and said, okay, well, let's do that. And he said from that moment on, no matter what was going on in his life, whether he was stuck in traffic, had a bad day, had a bad symptom, he was just filled with gratitude. And he would just go on saying things that I'm grateful for this life. I bless this person, or I bless that person. Within less than 3 months, his stage 4 cancer was gone. And it never came back to him since then. By the time I met him, he was cancer-free for about a decade. The guy's diet didn't change. The guy's exercise plan didn't change. What changed was his internal thoughts and emotions and feelings. His belief system became his placebo. And placebo is not some kind of detriment of the silly people who are not smart enough to know science. The placebo is something that is our innate ability to turn on a production of hormones and chemicals in our bodies that can heal our bodies, can heal our souls, can heal our minds. So while you are right now, my friend, in the world of naysayers, in the world of doctors and pharmaceuticals and maybe bloggers and podcasters who are telling you it is impossible for you to heal yourself, to cure yourself of hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, hyperthyroidism, thyroid eye disease, endometriosis, infertility, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's disease, or anything, digestive disorder, you name it. Turn a blind ear to them. They only speak out of their experiences, out of the lack of their experiences, I should say, because they had not fully experienced everything that there is out there. And I can tell you this, that the ability of our human spirit, and by spirit I don't mean just the ethereal part of us, I mean our bodies and our minds, the ability of our human spirit has not been explored to even 50% of what we're capable of. If you look just 50 years ago, 60 years ago, when there were no cell phones, and now cell phones are so amazing, they have the ability to help you connect to somebody via video across the globe. You can take pictures and videos. That the cell phone that I have right now in my hand is smarter than the first computer I've ever had. It has more memory, it has more abilities, it has more programs than my first computer. And that just happened in the last 30 years. At one point in time, we couldn't have imagined this life, but this knowledge was within us. We just had to dig deeper and discover things. So I can tell you right now that the limits of the human spirit, our human abilities, have not been explored even to 50% of what we're capable of. The future is filled with amazing things, natural health and natural approaches. I think that one day we're going to look back on what we're doing to our bodies right now. And this includes this COVID craziness. A lot of people are being pushed to the fears and experimental vaccinations. And if you ever want to talk about COVID, we'll have a podcast about that too. But we're being pushed into fear that actually arrests our abilities to self-heal. If we turn around right now and we give our natural innate abilities a way to express themselves, and that can be under tutelage of some coaches and specialists like myself. But if we do it within 100 to 200 years, we're going to look back at what we're doing to our children, to ourselves right now in horror. We're living in the age of the biggest experiment on the human race, by the human race. And one day we'll shatter of what we did to ourselves. And it is just my hope that it is going to start with you right now, realizing that you do not have to be a cog in somebody else's fear machine. You don't have to give up. You don't have to be afraid. What you need to do, what you can do, my friend, is start with looking at yourself and saying, am I okay with living in fear? Am I okay with giving up on myself? And if the answer is no, then you make the decision that, yes, I've listened to Elena long enough, and I'll go to her website and explore all of these success stories. They healed themselves of all these conditions that I just named and more. I work now with people from over 33 countries with different health conditions, and they all get well. And you tell yourself, if they can do it, if they can lose weight when it seems like it's impossible, when they heal themselves when they were told it's impossible, then I think the same thing is available to me. And that will be the first step to your healing. And without taking this first step, I can tell you that no matter the amount of supplements you're taking, the amount of medications you're taking, the therapies you're doing, the calories you're counting, your success will always evade you. I know it sounds like I'm a Debbie Downer, but I'm not. This is exactly what happens. This is exactly what I see that happened to thousands of my clients until they turn around their thinking and took this first step on their path to healing. Without this first step, nothing is possible. With this first step, nothing is impossible. And when you're ready to take this first step, and then the step after that, this is when you reach out and you talk to me, or somebody who you admire and who can give you natural results with natural means that are lasting, that will put you in power and control of your life and give you the best possible shot at having that baby that you want, or the body that you would be absolutely in love with, the energy, the hair, the libido that you're dreaming about. If they can do that for you, reach out to them. If they can't, reach out to me, because this is exactly what we do on an everyday basis. So today, as I came back from the living dead, from my sabbatical, I wanted to leave you infused with hope for the year 2022. And I also wanted to let you know about what's going to be happening in the next few months. I've decided that now every month I will be offering lessons. There will be courses that will be offered live. They will be for a fee, so you'd have to pay to register, so pay to play. I will be announcing those courses within about a week, and the schedule will be coming out. It will be posted on my website, and it will only be available by invitation. That means if you're on my email list, you will be invited. So if you're not on my email list, go to 360impacthealth.com. Make sure to get on it, so we'll send you an invitation. The spaces will always be limited, because every time I do the courses that I have scheduled, and we're going to start with the most wanted one, weight loss, the most natural way, the most healing way. So if you want to be a part of that, then get on the list. We'll invite you in. And that way, when you are on those trainings with me, I can answer your questions and give you all of my time that you will need. This is something that I had never done before. My clients only work with me when they're in my program, but this is something I wanted to bring in 2022. So be on the lookout for those courses. Each month will be a different topic. It will be a deep dive that will be offered. Listen very carefully. It will be offered only once, and then it will be put in the vault to never be held again as a live course. So get on the email list, subscribe, be on the lookout if you're already ready to start right now. And if you want to be one of the people that we put through our qualification and interview process to see if you will get to your 100% goal this year, then reach out, go to 360impacthealth.com, click on the link that says schedule your call, and then I will speak to you personally. With that said, I'm looking forward to the next week's episode of the Health Wizard podcast. I have a lot of goodness prepared for you in the weeks to come. Just be ready. There will be new, fresh topics. There will be interviews with some specialists that I'm inviting to the podcast that I'm hand selecting, because I don't just lightly bring somebody onto my podcast. So make sure that your notifications are turned on, that you're subscribed to this podcast, that you give it a like and a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting network so more people can see us and get the tools that they need in order to create their most healthy, wonderful lives possible. With all love and health and respect, I wish you all a fantastic rest of the week, and I will see you on the next episode of the Health Wizard podcast. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed today's topic. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the Health Wizard podcast, and please don't forget to tell others about it. If you would like to get more information about me and what I do, how I help amazing human beings just like you to achieve their dream health, go to www.360impacthealth.com. Go to the contact page and shoot me a note. Thank you so much for listening. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Health Wizard podcast. This is your host, Yelena, wishing you optimal natural health.